Are a better option for kids who struggle. Just using a literature book, reading lots of literature to a child and hoping that they will someday pick up a book and read it is not supported well at all in the research. It really takes, and especially for struggling readers or readers who are behind their classmates. A really good textbook is what is needed. Literature and books are necessary for developing reading, recreational reading, where they're choosing books that they can read well, and also read alouds. But in terms of instruction for a struggling learner, you want to have a good textbook that guides both you and your child. So choosing the right textbook. The goal is to accelerate the learning. So we want to start at the point where your child is, and we want to make more than a year's growth in a year, because that will help us to close the gap that exists between where your child is functioning and where others in the grade level range are functioning. You want to choose a program that will start where your child is and then advance step by step. Offers lots of practice for each skill and concept taught. There are two types of curriculum generally in the area of reading and in mathematics. One is a mastery model, where you work on a certain concept until that concept is mastered before you move on to the next concept. And then there's the spiraling curriculum. We see more of this. A spiraling curriculum is a curriculum where you introduce a concept one day, and on the following day you introduce another concept, but you're reviewing the concept you learned yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before. So there's lots of practice with each skill and concept. And the goal at the end of the year for both mastery and spiraling curriculum is that the children will have mastered it. They just take each curriculum takes a different approach to how it's designed. And either of those really work well with struggling learners. And then we want to talk about cost. We want to focus your instructional funding in the area of your child's need first, before using the funds for other things. You want to make sure you've got that area of need covered with instructional funding. And then we want to talk about a book's appearance. For a child, the font size needs to be large enough. There needs to be enough white space on a page, because too much print can overwhelm a child that struggles with reading. And then making sure that the headings are easy to find for children. Then let's talk about instructional time management. It's always better for a struggling student to have a structured schedule. So offering the more structure, actually the better they perform, usually. And instruction in the area of need, if they have a weakness in reading but they don't have a weakness in math, then that instruction in the area of need should be absolutely daily. Absolutely daily. So that's an important one to remember. The instruction should also be very clear and explicit. Those two words meaning about the same thing. We want to make sure that there's no chance that the child may not understand what we're asking them to do, and that you have clear and explicit instructions as the instructor of your child as well. Then some curriculum materials offer scripts for instruction, and those are really helpful with a struggling learner, because they have planned out everything that needs to be said and done between you and your child for each lesson, and it just gradually it gradually develops and helps to close the gap. And then the other suggestion is just make sure you use a teacher's planning book to help with that structured schedule. We have a new PLIP policy, actually a more defined PLIP policy this year, and PLIP meaning Personalized Learning Improvement Plan. The ESs are reviewing that with families this fall. You may have had your review or will be having your review. This training is a part of the new policy. There is required parent training, and this is one of the trainings. Let's talk about managing the learning environment for students who struggle. They really, again, like I said, do better with structure, so having a specific space or schoolroom where they do their work is optimal. You want lighting in the area where your child is working to be good lighting for them. It might be good to have furniture, making the furniture child size is ideal. Some children respond well with sitting on an exercise ball rather than in a chair, especially if they're active children or just don't like the confines of a traditional chair. And then keep distractors away from the school room area, both visual distractors and auditory distractors. One way to help with visual distractors is to use a display board, like a science display board, where there are 3 sides that can fold up on a table or a desk that can eliminate a lot of visual distractions. And then staying away from where the air conditioning or the fan is, or the chiming clocks are, or the dog barking. Just having a space that's quiet for a lot of kids. And if that's not possible, you might want to try earplugs or headphones to reduce the sound. That being said, I want to also say that some children actually need some sound, whether it's white noise or some other kind of sound, maybe music, in order to concentrate. So there are different styles for different children. Now let's talk about more specific subject areas, math and reading, and the problems that can arise that interfere with learning in those 2 areas. We'll start with math. So some of the causes of math problems are planning difficulties. This causes, if children suffer from planning difficulties, they often get lost in a math process. If there's more than one step, they may not be able to follow it well, and that means that they have problems planning. Some children have problems with sequencing, so the sequence of the process of changing decimals to fractions or vice versa may be difficult for them, or factoring polynomials may be difficult. And if that's the case, they may have sequencing difficulties. And then there's understanding math concepts and math vocabulary difficulties. Deciding what operation to use is sometimes hard. And then also interpreting a problem could be difficult if understanding math concepts and vocabulary are difficult. More difficulties in the mathematics area. Long-term memory